Another year, another slow start. The Bengals dropped to 0-1 in what might have been Joe Burrow's worst game as a pro.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. A tough season opener for the Cincinnati Bengals, but we've got you covered anyway. I'm Jake Liscow. He's James Rapien. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. And you can subscribe to the show on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast to become part of that first listen club. Those of you who make us your first listen every day, become an everydayer. Those of you who don't miss an episode, we appreciate all of you very much. We also appreciate those of you who were patient with us, the Subtext subscribers who were patient through that Subtext outage that we had late last week around the Joe Burrow signing. Today's episode of Locked On Bengals brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs, who helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. Brutal game for the Cincinnati Bengals to open the season in Cleveland. Brutal game for Joe Burrow. Brutal game for these wide receivers. And we'll see on tape, but I have a feeling I might be saying the same thing about this offensive line as well once we've had a chance to look at that.
Awful. You're right. Awful, brutal, ugly. You could describe it in a bunch of different ways. This Bengals offense was just outmatched, outclassed. We could talk about preseason or calf injuries or reps or come on. Like it should never be like that, like it was today, where Joe Burrow is 14 of 31. I mean, to me, you might be able to put Jesus on the field and he can complete more than 14 balls of 31 attempts. I'm serious. Like that's how I expect Joe Burrow to play, right? Like that level. And he was just nowhere near that. And it's kind of wild because the score 24-3 at the end, they were in this game. Like if the offense had just woken up at some point, they could have been in it. Even when it was 16-3, it's like, all right, go get a touchdown and put a little pressure on the Browns defense or Browns offense to do something else. And they didn't have it. And there are some games when you don't have it. I think the narrative about preseason is going to get even bigger now. Here's the thing though, is Burrow was hurt. And you could play everyone else without Burrow, but you saw that firsthand in training camp, what that was like. Is it worth it doing in a real game? I still don't really question that part of it. What I do wonder now, and the part of this that I do buy into a bit, Jake, I think they're just an awful matchup. And by an awful matchup, I mean the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns are an awful matchup for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it might be a thing. I've been in denial that it's a thing because it doesn't really make sense to me. On one hand, because the Bengals have more talent. On the other, it's been a trend. Zac Taylor is the first Bengals coach ever to start 0-5 in Cleveland. That's wild. Joe Burrow 1-5 against the Browns. At some point, it's a thing, and I think it's officially a thing.
Yeah, the matchup in Cleveland is particularly bad. And here's why. When your team revolves around Myles Garrett, who's by far the best player on the Browns, and they have other good players. It's not a slight at them, but Myles Garrett is a freak. And Myles Garrett gets the tee off because you have crowd noise and the Bengals offense is on a silent count. And there's only so much you can do in a silent count situation to get a defense off balance, to make them not pin their ears back. That's going to make things worse. And exacerbating that this year is the addition of Ogba Okoronkwo, who had a sack, which was caused by Myles Garrett, of course, and Zadarius Smith, who had numerous hits on Joe Burrow in this game.
First play of the game. First play from scrimmage.
And that
hits Burrow.
And that was not on Jonah Williams, for anybody wondering. Jonah Williams was not supposed to block him, but that's not absolving Jonah Williams in this game. He was responsible, at least mostly, for the Myles Garrett sack on the fourth down late in the game. So, you know, all these things that we can talk about. But on top of all those things, James, which is why I think it's a unique advantage for Cleveland when the Bengals have to play them in Cleveland, which is a great atmosphere, and they play them in these, season opener and primetime games all the time when Joe Burrow is a quarterback anyway. And Jim Schwartz wants to do this, and he did it today. If they can go man outside and say, we're going to put our corners and safeties in one-on-ones against your stud wide receivers, and you're going to go 0 for 8 on targets to Tee Higgins, well, good luck, Cincinnati Bengals, in those situations. And that's what the Browns did. Like, that's how the Bengals want to play offense. What did we say coming into this game? Jim Schwartz plays man. You feel good about that. You don't want to do that to Joe Burrow. They played man. The Bengals didn't win those one-on-ones outside. Mm-hmm. And the greatest example of that is the ball where Grant Delpit, who's a safety, is manned up one-on-one with Tee Higgins, and he's face guarding him, but makes a great play to time, getting his hand between T's hands at the catch point and gets a pass breakup. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of plays similar to that where, it's corners. Martin Emerson shut down his side of the field almost entirely in this game for the Browns. So when you have those two ingredients and you have a team that can actually play man against the Bengals receivers and win, that is a hard formula for this team to beat if they can't block. And that is especially hard to do on the road against this team.
Well, there shouldn't be, I made the Jesus reference. I'll do it. He shouldn't be able to guard Jamar Chase one-on-one. And I'm not trying to be religious. You get my point here. And so it shouldn't have happened. If you would have told me that, you're right. I would have been like, it's barbecue chicken and they're gonna eat. And I still think they should against anybody if it's one-on-one. And yet you're right. Like, and it was a mixture of things because it goes back to Burrow. Like, I don't think the receivers were good today, but Burrow was off. Even like his good throws in today's game, Burrow was off. And why was he off? Was it the rain? Was it the calf? Was it lack of preseason snaps? Was it just lack of reps with T and Jamar? I don't know. But he was off. What was it? Because it's an awful matchup. He can't be off like that anymore. I mean, this was as bad as I've seen him because it wasn't like, I don't think he was confused. I don't think they did anything that he was shocked by. He wasn't tricked into an interception. It wasn't like he was just getting crushed where he was sacked 8 times and was seeing ghosts. Like, none of that. And we've seen that throughout his tenure with the Bengals. He was just off. And I think that all of it probably played a role, from the matchup to the elements to lack of preseason / training camp reps, all of it. But it was the perfect storm, and it snowballed quickly. And so that's where I go back to, is as much as it is, I think, a receiver's situation or issue as well. I mean, their longest passing play was 12 yards. Like, yeah. What is that? What are they throwing to me? Like, what's going on here? I mean, Tyler Boyd, 2 catches. Like, let's just say you can take Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins out of the game. Well, then Boyd, Irv Smith, like, nobody. There was no one. It felt awful.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, and that 12-yard catch was a catch and run. That was a schemed up. We're going to get Jamar in the flat. We're going to have a wide receiver bunch over there, and Jamar's going to take.
It was the sideline, wasn't it? It was the sideline where he got cracked in the back.
That was a 3-yard catch, was it not?
It was more than 3. It was downfield.
I thought that was a flat where he reached the ball out?
No. The one where he caught it on the sideline and the safety, I think it was Delpit, just crushed him in his back, but he still held on. It was for a first down. It might have been 11 yards. We might be splitting hairs here. One was 11, One was 12. The point is, that can't be your longest play.
Right. You got to be able to push the ball down the field. When you have nothing, like you had a couple targets deep, they got 1 DPI. You had one that would have been a very, very difficult catch for Jamar Chase, go through his hands. That would have been, like I said, very hard, jumping on the sideline, got to get your toes down. That would have been a hard catch. You had multiple passes broken up, targeted for Tee Higgins. You can't have those days. And what's rough about this game is, you're right, it wasn't like mental stuff for Joe. It seemed physical, whether it was the rain, which seemed to be a significant issue. The accuracy just wasn't there.
It was not.
And was it preseason? Is it the matchup? Is it rain? Is it the coaching staff? Is it What is it? Why do we keep seeing these slow starts for this team? There's more to talk about there. And we should talk about the defense as well, because they weren't all bad in this game. But the focus rightly on the offense here to start. We'll continue the conversation on that note coming up next. These days, every new hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs will help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. They have simple tools. We've told you about this before. Screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills for the job that you need filled, and just the right experience. You can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Today's show is also brought to you by Pierce Dental Group. We are so excited to welcome the Pierce Dental Group as a sponsor here on Locked On Bengals. They are local. They have 2 locations in downtown Cincinnati and in northern Kentucky. They are the premier dental group in the area. They provide world-class experience for creating confident smiles. You want to be confident, you want to have a gorgeous smile. Pierce Dental Group can help you do just that. Their downtown location was established in 1942. They're the highest rated dentist in the area with over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, and they provide a wide range of services, including cosmetics, dental implants, Invisalign, routine care, and they offer flexible payment options and pride themselves, on maximizing your dental insurance. You got to get to Pierce Dental Group right now. You can visit them online right now at piercedentalgroup.com, PEARCE dentalgroup.com, or search Pierce Dental Group on Instagram or Facebook. Again, that's piercedentalgroup.com.
Let's stay on this offense for a minute, James. So I guess I should preface this with the overwhelming feedback that I have seen from fans is play calling was bad. They needed to play the starters in the preseason. More than a handful of people have said Joe Burrow needed to play in the preseason, which we don't need to talk about. He was hurt. He could not have played in the preseason.
Yeah.
He appeared to still be bothered by that leg injury today. Criticism about the offensive scheme. What are you attributing these continued slow starts to? Because no matter how bad the matchup is, 14 for 31 for 82 yards is an insane stat line for Joe Burrow. We've seen him in bad matchups. We've seen him have tough games against good defenses. We've not seen him have that little offensive output.
I thought his floor in today's game, like, let's just say you told me they lose 24-3, Burrow struggles, all of those things, like everything, I would say, oh, well, so 14 of 31 for $165. Like, you just would never imagine 82 yards, 14 completions. His best play of the day was probably the pass interference that he had with Chase that helped set up that field goal on their first possession of the third quarter. Like, just awful. So what would I attribute it to? I think it was the perfect storm. I can't say it's one thing. If I had to rank, I would say lack of reps combined with the rain element. Like, there was going to be an element to Burrow's game already. Game 1, you missed 5 weeks during training camp. Throw preseason out of it. Just the 5 weeks during training camp. I think back to what he said on July 26th when he said, oh, man, I can't wait to take advantage of every single one of these reps in training camp. Well, he didn't get those reps. And clearly he values them. Guess who else does? Every star quarterback in the league. From Tom Brady when he was in the league, Peyton Manning, now a guy like Joe Burrow. So lesson 1, those reps did matter a lot. Lesson 2, the elements, when the Bengals do practice in the rain, and they did, by the way, in camp, but it was during a practice when Burrow was already out. This is why you want to be comfortable in the rain, comfortable in the elements. So don't question that moving forward. And the other point is, I really do. I think this is a bad matchup. So if I had to rank them, I think it would be there. But it goes back to, I think he was ready to go. He has looked good in practice by all accounts. And I just think that when you go on the road and you have a thin margin for error anyway, like I thought it was going to be a close game, but then the element factor comes in. And then clearly he's not on the same page as Tee Higgins on multiple plays. Like it really snowballed quickly. And it oddly happens against this Browns team where it snowballs quick. I have no doubt that they're going to be fine. They're a really talented team, but it snowballed quick. And you look at that score and it's like, my God, they just always get blown out by Cleveland, certainly here in Cleveland.
It goes one way early, and then when the offense can't get it going early, when they had the opportunities, you go into halftime and it's 3-0. Was it 3-0 at halftime? No, it was 10-0 at halftime.
It was 10-0
touchdown.
Yeah.
You get late in the first half, I guess, and it's 3-0. You go score a touchdown there, the game's different. You do literally anything on offense in the first half, and Cleveland doesn't get to run the game script the way they want to run the game script for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. And they just didn't. And that does get away with them. I agree with you on one significant point. The reps in the preseason for Joe Burrow do matter. I think that
in camp.
And that I was referring to that as part of the preseason. Mm-hmm. I think that is crucial for him. We've seen this now a few years now. He's a very good player, but when you see him not on the same page with his receivers, that's a very clear indicator that he could have used that time just to not have those miscommunications happen, because it wasn't just inaccuracy at times. It wasn't just the receivers not winning. It was also multiple miscommunications. There were pre-snap penalties. I'm sure it's going to drive Zac Taylor, Brian Callahan crazy. They had 3 pre-snap penalties as well. Mm-hmm. Those reps matter. We need to stop propping up Joe Burrow as some sort of god who can go win and play really well without reps, because he's a very, very good player, but he has not shown us that ability. And we've kind of talked ourselves into it, I think, for a couple of years here in a row. The other thing that I think is very interesting is a whole play in preseason argument. Very mixed bag of success here, right? The Kansas City Chiefs played their starters in the preseason.
Yeah.
And they lost. Pittsburgh Steelers played their starters in the preseason and looked great. I mean, you listen to Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, not that any of our listeners would, but you listen to the national media too. They're ready to say, oh man, Pittsburgh, they're a real contender this year. And the 49ers, to be fair, are a true contender this year in the NFC, and they won 30-7 on the road in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had no shot. They looked terrible. So would I play the Bengals starters in the preseason for a drive or two if they're healthy? Yeah, I think I would. And maybe we differ there, James, but I'm not convinced that, people are saying, I have multiple people tell me, there's a trend here. If they don't play in the preseason, they start poorly. Well, we've never seen them play in the preseason, so we don't know if that would make a difference anyway. And you can see around the league for some teams, it doesn't necessarily do that. And so I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes. I think if Joe Burrow is healthy next year, you should probably try to get him some preseason snaps just because, but I'm not convinced that is like the deciding factor in these slow starts.
Yeah. I wonder this, and I didn't ask Joe this, and I probably should have. The past 72 hours have been a freaking whirlwind.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. He did the news conference on Saturday, right before leaving for Cleveland. It would have been nice to have that handled 2 weeks ago. And I'm not blaming the Bengals, by the way. Things take time, and it could have been 1,000 different reasons why. But, that's tough, too. That part of it, mentally is tough, and I get it. He stayed locked in and celebrated for 5 minutes, and still got to sign the deal and go through all that and do media again, and it makes the week a little different. That is not why, to be clear, he went 14 of 31, and I'm not saying that, but I do think it is something that changed this week up, made this week a bit unique, a little different, and they have to respond. That said, we should talk about the defense in other notes, thoughts. The Bengals offense was awful, and I'm sure we'll have more thoughts on them throughout the week. But let's get to the defense, and let's get to maybe some special teams and other thoughts as well. But before we do that, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is here. They're America's #1 sports book, and guess what? They are here for you with NFL football back. The NFL season brings incredible offers from FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 with just $5. And all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
I do want to get to the defense here, James, because there were some bright spots there. Last thought on the offensive side of the ball. The way this offense is designed, the last criticism that I saw a lot of was they don't scheme receivers open. They you watch the Browns, the play action boot game that they have, and they didn't run the ball enough. This is who the offense is. This is how they've thrived. This is how they've made it deep into playoff runs. So it's a difficult thing for me to kind of evaluate. Yes, it would be great if you could scheme receivers open a little bit more often, but also you have what you think are the best receivers in the league, and you're getting man coverage. So it's hard for me to fault them too much for expecting their guys to go win against man coverage because they've been beating it for their entire careers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what the offense is. The problem with that offense is when your quarterback isn't playing well or is playing poorly, you have no shot in hell. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in this game. Let's go to the defense, James. I thought that there were some nice things on the defensive side of the ball. There were some issues. It wasn't perfect, but they gave up just 24 points, most of those coming on short fields, one touchdown coming on a short field after Zac Taylor finally opted to go for it on 4th and 4 in his own territory. Did not think Zac Taylor's 4th down decision-making today was great, by the way, James, as a side note.
Should have went. It was 4th and 3, by the way.
In the fourth quarter?
Oh, no, sorry. The one he didn't go for, 4th and 3 at the 38.5.
Yes.
Go.
That's
every
a no-brainer.
time go.
That's a no-brainer. Don't understand that one at all.
It sounds like it was either kick, the field goal, or punt. Like going for it was 3rd, which I don't get. I agree.
I mean, the amount of 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1 punts or kicks in this game is frustratingly high. It's at least 6. And when you're a yard short and kicking every time, that's brutal. Anyway, defense, saw some good things. Saw Zach, some role players, some rotational guys take some steps. Zach Carter, I thought, played well, had a big part, was instrumental, in fact, in that Dax Hill interception. Drew a hold, got up, pursued the play anyway, got his hand on the pass, tipped it, deflects right to Dax Hill. Great play for Zach Carter there. I saw him getting some good push other times, both in the run game and the pass game. I thought DJ Reader played another good game against the run, as we're used to seeing with him. But Cam Sample, obviously, the other rotational piece I wanted to shout out for taking a step. Also saw DJ Turner make a play. But the starters, Cam Taylor-Britt, I thought played well. Mm-hmm. Trey Hendrickson, 8. I talked about that matchup, like that matchup with Jedrick Wills in this game. And I thought Trey Hendrickson was really good as a pass rusher for a lot of this game, made some plays that could have changed the game if the offense was ready to do anything. So defensive side of the ball ends up looking a little bit ugly because things get away from them in the 4th quarter. The rushing yards start to accumulate. The biggest concern for me coming out of this game is the QB run game. It was not something the Bengals handled well with Deshaun Watson a week ahead of the Lamar Jackson matchup. But outside of that, yeah, Nick Chubb had his. He had a few nice runs. The Browns had some nice runs in the 4th quarter. But I thought that there was a lot to like from this defense in this game.
Yeah, Jermaine Pratt is someone that stood out to me. Ended up leading the team in tackles with 11, had a sack, which I love that call from Lou. I mean, you bring 55 and 57.
The delayed blitz from
Logan was delayed. Yeah, it's exactly what happened. And the running back had to choose, and Jermaine Pratt was able to get him. And so, yeah, I thought he played well, obviously forced the fumble. Chidobe Awuzie was on a snap count, and that led to DJ Turner getting some run. I thought he played well. Had a nice tackle on Elijah Moore to force a punt on 3rd and I think it was 3rd and 10. It was like a 5-yard out, and Browns are hoping that he can break a tackle there. So nice play. I'm thinking, who else stood out to me? There was one or two more when you were you were talking that stood out. Maybe it was just Pratt. Maybe it was. Maybe it was just the linebackers making sure I shout them out. No, Dax. I thought Dax was good.
Yeah.
Dax was good today. It had a couple tackles for loss, 6 tackles total. Obviously, the interception. And that's the point. That's the freaking point in the game. The defense has gotten you 2 turnovers now. You win the turnover battle, by the way, which is insane. They won the turnover battle.
2-0.
Dude, I have no idea. So it's 10-3. Pick 20-yard return. Like, this is it. This is the time. And if you score a touchdown there, the whole game just feels different. And they usually do when they start slow. They usually snap out of it. It's one thing that I praise this team for. And it just didn't happen. Look, the defense was on the field too long. Time of possession. They were put in some crappy situations in the first half too, and they responded the right way, just field position-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that, so the defense deserves a ton of credit. Shocker that Louis Narumo's defense was ready to go. Brad Robbins, sort of a mixed bag. Now, he did have that 154-yard boot that was really nice, but the touchback on the 4th and 3 that we both would have went for, that's painful. If it gets down at the 1, then you can kind of be like, oh, well, Zach might have been right about it. It didn't. So you gained 18 yards by punting, which is just brutal. We'll see. Really tough elements, I will say, for Brad in his NFL debut. Not saying that he shouldn't have been better, but that was a mixed bag for him in his first game.
He had 2 nice punts, and I don't know how to say his name. Corey Boyorquez was a bit of a mixed bag for Cleveland as well.
It's definitely a mixed bag.
But for a drafted punter, was hoping for more than 40.9 yards per punt. And I know that, one of those we just talked about was tight to the end zone, but only had 2 down inside the 20 in the game. Having a touchback is, not only on him. The Gunners could not find the ball in the air, but obviously not a good result. That's why you go for that, because so much can go wrong when you're trying to pin somebody to the 1-yard line. And then even when you do have them pinned to the 1-yard line, they have the ball now. That was definitely an inflection point in the game. Maybe the Bengals don't get it anyway, but not a sterling debut for Brad Robbins. But you're right. It was very difficult elements. And one of the punts that really drags that average down was a low snap that he had to deal with and just try to get anything on the ball. So I guess you should praise him for being able to get any kick away. Evan McPherson also 1 for 2. Missed a 51-yarder. Again, elements, I get it, but just missed it right.
If he makes that, the momentum turns a little. I'm not saying they would, but it's 10-6. A touchdown puts you ahead. You've scored 6 straight on back-to-back possessions, and he missed it, and then the Browns went down and got the field goal to make it a 2-possession game again, and it just felt
right.
It
at least keeps you in the game, and it doesn't then turn into a 2-touchdown game. If it's 6-10, 1 touch, there's a difference there. Missing a field goal, giving plus field position as well. The Browns take over on the 41. They just get a couple of plays, a couple first downs, and boom, field goal range.
Yep.
So certainly not perfect for any phase of this team. The defense, the best unit. Special teams didn't have a great day. The offense was dreadful. I feel relatively confident that the offense will figure it out, but it is frustrating that this is what the offense is. And that when Joe Burrow isn't playing Superman football, they don't have the answers. It would be nice if they had something in their back pocket and again, I'm sure they think they do. I'm sure they think they do have the easy plays to get them going, and they just couldn't hit them in this game, or they weren't as easy as they thought they were. But obviously needs to get righted. Another tough test next week too. Another division game. The defensive coordinator who's had your number in Mike McDonald can't be 0-2 in the division.
No,
that's not where you want to be.
Got to turn it around quick.
That should help. Got to turn it around quick. That's right. Burrow gets another week of practice. Hopefully he is doing all right. There were a few shots of him on the sideline having his knee apparently worked on. So hopefully he's healthy as well. That is important. Hopefully the calf is good. Might have just been the calf, right? But we'll see what this week holds. We'll see what the film tells us. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. Tough week 1 loss, but we're still here on Locked On Bengals. So until next time, hoo-day, and have a good one.